My name is Tia, and I am the victim of a mother that suffered from domestic violence. Um, I'm gonna start a little bit before, then I'm gonna start during, and then I'm gonna tell you about afterwards. As far as I can remember, far back as I can remember, I had a loving and nurturing mother. She was a single mother of 4 children. I had 2 brothers, a younger sister, and myself. And we were very close knit. My mother, she suffered from drug addiction and alcohol addiction. However, she took care of us as best she could. Did we go home hungry some days? Of course we did. However, my mother always taught us the youngest eat first and then so forth. So my sister and I never were really hungry. However, my brothers probably were. And my mother didn't eat because she just had enough for her kids when it was enough. However, even though we didn't have much, we had love. My mother, when I tell you my mother loved us, and she taught me so much. She taught me everything she could in 17 years. I mean, I don't know people that know as much as I know, and they're adults. And my mother taught me in such a short time span. She was, like I said, she was nurturing and she was loving. And she was strict. I was very afraid of my mother. Not like the kids today. Not because she was abusive, because she taught me and she expected me to do what she said. And we did. When she said this house needed to be clean, this house needed to be clean, she taught me that you don't have to be rich to be clean. And as long as you feed your kids, that's all you have to do. It don't have to be a steak. So, and if your gas get cut off, get some more blankets, get some electric blankets, get whatever you have to do to survive. And I carry that with me because I thought that was my life and that's how I was gonna live all of my life. I just thought that this is the way it is for me. I'm going to be less fortunate, but I know how to survive. I remember my sister's father, one time he broke my mother's jaw. I was a little girl. I didn't know then what it was, but I remember my mother having to get her jaw wired. My brother, I know my brother does not know a lot of this, so this is all going to be new for him as well. I remember one time, my mother was dating her best friend's brother. And I know my son doesn't know this, so I'm sorry. My mother she wasn't home, and he came in the room, and he came in to touch my little sister. And when I looked up, we had separate beds. When I looked up and I saw him over there on my sister, I said, hey, whatever you gonna do, don't do it to her. Do it to me, because that was my baby sister. And not to be so graphic, he didn't do much. He did enough so I knew that I kept the memory. I wasn't raped, but I was fondled. And it was enough to be embedded in my memory. So when my mother wasn't home at the time, and when she came in, she said, why are you coming out of the girls' room? And I don't know what lie he told her, but she then called me in there. And I did tell her, I said, this is what he did. He went to touch Jennifer, and I told him not to. And so my mother flipped, because although she was alcohol dependent and drug dependent, she loved her children, and you're not gonna touch her girls. And so it was either you get out of my house or I tell my sons, and it goes down a different way. Like I said, this is her best friend's brother. So he went to jail. He ended up dying in jail because the very next day, from what I remember, he raped somebody on the elevator in downtown Cleveland. This is years ago. I mean, I was not even 15. I said that to say my mother dated men that it wasn't a good choice. She dated men that put her life in danger plenty of times. Um, but she always protected us the best that she could. The one time I remember, this is one of the worst memories. Um, her boyfriend, and gosh, her boyfriend was looking for her, and she came home and she told my sister and myself to get in the closet. So me and my mother and my sister was hiding in the closet while this man was searching through the house for an axe, with an axe and a sledgehammer, looking for my mom. And all I can remember is her saying, "Be quiet," and my sister saying, "Why we gotta be quiet?" And my mother said, "Just be quiet." He did eventually leave, and nothing happened that day. So that was the before of the abuse that my mother, that I can remember, and that's really cutting it short, but that's the before abuse that my mother went through. I know my sister's father and my mother, they had numerous altercations where he abused my mother. He just did, and she just stayed. So to take you to November 3rd, 1988, is the day that ultimately was the last time my mother would suffer from abuse. My best friend and I were out looking for class rings. It was November 3rd, and we were out looking for class rings. And oh God, I don't think it was that. Yeah, we were out. So we got home, and then I remember going to the store, and my mother said she would be home shortly. She told me to buy some pork chops, and she would be home shortly, and she would cook them. And I said, "Okay, is it okay if I go around the corner to my then boyfriend's house?" It was my senior year in high school. And she said, "Yes." I went around the corner, and about, I want to say a half an hour, 40 minutes later, she comes in and she says, no, somebody come in and they say, "Tia, your cousin, your uncle is down here. He has blood all over his shirt." And I'm like, "Okay, what's going on?" So he's like, "Your mother's been stabbed." So I simply thought my mother had cut herself cooking. And so when I get there, we go to the hospital, and my sister is in the car, and she's just sitting there. She's not saying absolutely anything. And I'm like, "Jennifer, what is wrong?" And she's just like, I don't know, stoked, like in a catatonic state, like she couldn't say anything. And so we get to the hospital, and a lot of my family there, and I'm just like, I have no idea what's going on. Long story short, the doctor came in, and he said, the family of Diane Carroll, please come in here. So we was there, it was at Mount Sinai, and he said, "Your mom," no, he told my grandmother, "Diane was DOA." And I just was sitting there, because I don't know what DOA means. And I'm like, "What's DOA?" And he said, "Dead on arrival." And I'm like, "My mother's dead?" And he said, she said, "Yes, sweetie, I'm sorry." So the only thing I remember doing is running out of the room, and like, I don't know where the strength, I know where the strength comes from now, but then I like moved the entire pop machine, and I just sat in the corner and I cried. And I was like, well, I gotta call my brother. You know, my brother was away in college, and my other brother he was in prison. And I'm like, I gotta call my brother. Like, what am I supposed to do? So the doctor came and she said, "We brought her back, she's on life support." And so I said, I still don't even know what happened. But long story short, what I found out happened is that she had been dating this guy named Michael, and I'm gonna take you back 2 weeks prior, like Sweetest Day weekend. Him and my mother had got into an argument, and I specifically remember saying to him, "If you don't get away from my mother, I'm going to stab you in your heart until you're dead." And so, and that was like Sweetest Day weekend, because they had got to an argument. I remember my mother shaking. At this point, I'm 17 years old. I can help my mom. You know, I'm no little kid anymore. And so back to November 3rd, when he stabbed her, what happened was he I don't know, they got into some argument from 2 weeks prior, because she let him back, and she let him back in, and he made everyone get out the house, because my mother's play niece was staying with us with her kids, and he made everyone get out the house, He held my mother hostage with a knife to her neck, and he then stabbed her in her neck. She ran out the house where she collapsed because he stabbed her in her jugular. He caught up to her. He repeatedly stabbed her in her heart. And then he drowned her in a puddle of water because it was raining. And he left my mom there. Take your time. The fact that my mother is gone is not what breaks my heart. The fact that how she left is what breaks my heart. I do know she loved me. I do know she loved my brothers, and I do know she loved my sister. I do know she would do anything she would have done anything to protect us. So if that meant her leaving out the house and me not being there, and all of my family said, well, I'm just glad you wasn't there, because he probably would have killed both of you, y'all. Because you weren't gonna make me leave my mother for you to hold her hostage. My little sister didn't know any better. She was 12. That's the it. However, I had a strong mother. She raised a strong daughter. She raised 2 strong sons. And she raised my sister, who also has passed away since then. She died 6 years after my mother. So I always say, Michael, he not only took my mom, he took my little sister from me as well, because I just think that she was there. It was just too much for her little heart to handle. And she ended up dying from a brain aneurysm. If I could just touch somebody's life and just say, hey, when you make the choice, or you cannot get out, or whatever the case may be, your kids are affected.
Yes.
Your kids are affected. They may be strong, but my mom died 31 years ago tomorrow, and I still cry. I still call out her name. I still long for that love. I didn't have her at prom. I didn't have her at graduation. I didn't have her in nursing school. I didn't have her at my wedding. I didn't have her with my kids. My kids have never, ever seen my mother. They don't know what it's like. They didn't have a grandmother, a real grandmother. I've been blessed. I'll tell you that. I've been blessed. I have an adopted mother. I have another godmother, and I have sisters that when I tell you, it takes all of them to replace the pain that I'm losing. I have friends that, if it wasn't for my friends, and I don't know why God saw so fit to bless little old me, because he really has. I just do. I feel so blessed, even through my trials and tribulations. And my mother's death was definitely hard, don't get me wrong, but my sister's death almost took me out of here. But I have belief, and I pray, and I thank God. I thank God for the people that he's placed in my life, like my adopted mother. That's her back there. 2 weeks before, ironically enough, my mother knew something was going to happen to her, and I'm going to tell you why. And I remember it so vaguely. Nikki, I know you remember it. Mommy, I know you remember. She came over. I stayed at Nikki's house. Nikki is my adopted sister. She is my sister. I don't even call her adopted, but she's my sister. And when I tell you, I stayed at her house. We stayed across the street from each other. Been best friends since we were 9 years old. Not a break, not nothing has ever come between us. We argue, but that's what sisters do.
That's what sisters do.
So my mom came over there, and she asked Sharon, who is my mom now, she said, if something ever happened to me, I need you to take Tia. And she said, I was like, Mommy, what you talking about? She's like, shut up. And she said, Sharon said, what about Jennifer? She said, no, you take Tia. Bruce, Wesley, and Jennifer, they're gonna be okay. Tia is not gonna do good. And Bruce, I'm sorry, but I was her favorite. So she knew that he thinks he was. And a little bit, sometimes he probably was, but she knew that this would be difficult for me. And so she had to make sure that I was secure and that somebody would love me just as much. And I don't know if she knew Jennifer wasn't going to be here that much longer after she passed. I don't know what she knew, but I do know that my mother knew she was not going to be here much longer. And I'm going to read this This letter my sister found um, after my mom died. And my mom died November 10th, 1988. And I remember the date. I remember what I was doing. I remember Nikki and I in the call at home when they called us and told us that she passed. When I can tell you, I cannot have asked for a better friend than my sister. I cannot have. I have a bad attitude. I'm moody. She don't care. She don't pay me no attention. We argue if I need her. I mean, I didn't have anything at times. Nothing. Stayed at her house with her parents. I had a key. They treated me like and their family, that's who they know me as their family. I'm their cousin. That's just how they treat me. And I have a lot of friends, but that's my very best friend. And she knows it. I don't have, my friends are competitive. They compete. They Tia this. Nope. They know what Nikki is. So I'm just going to read you this letter that my sister actually found this letter. I was away in college, and I did go to college on a track scholarship. I don't know where I got the strength from, but I did. It says, to my daughters with love on the important things in life. So this just let me know that my mom knew that she was going to die, because like I said, my sister found this like 5 or 6 months after my mother had passed away. A mother tries to provide her daughter with insight into important things in life in order to make her life as happy and fulfilling as possible. A mother tries to teach her daughter to be good, always helpful to other people, to be fair, always treating others equally, to have a positive attitude at all times, to make things right when they are wrong, to know herself very well, to know what her talents are, to set goals for herself, to not be afraid of working too hard to reach her goals. A mother tries to teach her daughter to have many interests to pursue, to laugh and have fun every day, to appreciate the beauty of nature, to enter into friendship with good people, to honor their friendship and always be a true friend, to appreciate the importance of family and particularly respect and love our elder members, to use her intelligence at all times, to listen to her emotions and to adhere to her values. A mother tries to teach her daughter to not be afraid to stick to her beliefs, to not follow the majority when the majority is wrong, to carefully plan a life for herself, to vigorously follow her chosen path, to enter into a relationship with someone worthy of herself, to love this person unconditionally with her mind and her body and mind, to share all that she has learned in life with this person. If I have provided you with insight into most of these things, then I have succeeded as a mother in what I hope to accomplish in raising you. If many of these things slip by while we are all so busy, I have a feeling that you know them anyway. One thing I am sure of, though, I have taught you to be proud of the fact that you are a woman equal to all men, and I have loved you every second of your life. I have supported you at all times. As a mother, as a person, and as a friend, I will always continue to cherish and love everything about you. My beautiful daughters, with all my love, your mother, Diane Carroll. And I actually have this in my sister's obituary. So just because I try to live by this, and if anybody knows this is how I am, and this is the last thing that I have to say. This is what you do because this is what your mom taught you, because that's all I have. I lost her at 17, so this is what I have to live by. And if anybody know me, this is me. I went on to pursue my dream to become a nurse. I became a registered nurse 3 years ago. God is good. It was a struggle, but God is good. I can't tell you, I can pay my bills. I can feed my kids. They don't have to eat in order, although that's how they eat. They eat youngest to oldest. They know that if the lights get cut off, this is what you have to do. If the gas get cut off, this is what you have to do. If the water get cut off, this is what you have to do. And I did put them through those things when I was in nursing school, just so they'll learn that nothing's gonna come easy. Things are gonna happen. Life is gonna happen. The heat might get cut off. The gas might get cut off, but you keep warm like this. The electric might get cut off, but this is what you do. So I've taught my kids to struggle, so they'll know what to do in case they had to. And I also have taught them this is how you can live. If you work hard every day, trials and tribulation are gonna come, but you got to get up every day and get it for yourself, because don't nobody owe you nothing but you. So you get up, you get out there, you get it, and you make it happen. I have my son here. Nobody knows that he has Asperger's, but when I tell you, this is the biggest blessing I got. Because when I didn't have nothing, I had him, and it was me and him for a long time. And everything I do, I did it for him. And look at my baby. This is my son, 22 years old and a good kid. I get plenty compliments on how good I did with him. I didn't do good. I gave him to God, and God did good. Yes. Thank you. Thank you all for listening. I appreciate your attention. Thank you. All right. Thank you.